This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for Monday, August 19th, 2024. I'm Marek Mazurek. Earlier this month, the U.S. Department of Education announced that access to the free application for federal student aid for the 2025-26 academic year is being delayed by at least 2 months. The FAFSA was expected to be made available to students and families on October 1st, but that has now been pushed back to early December. It's the second consecutive year the form has been delayed, as last year's rollout of the form was marked by technical glitches that caused even greater delays. Despite that, Bill Wozniak, Vice President of Communications for Carmel-based nonprofit InvestEd, says the state and schools have been planning ahead after dealing with last year's difficulties.
We were planning ahead in the spring, and now we continue to plan, and the counselors and the schools are back. So we're ramping up our messaging. We're ramping up everything that we're doing. And again, last year, the counselors and schools were amazing. But now this year, there is an even more receptive audience, a broader audience, because everybody's lived through it.
Wozniak is encouraging families to complete the FSA ID process, which allows users to complete the FAFSA form now, so completing the form will be easier when it's available. The international metal components maker Voestalpine RFC on Monday announced a major expansion to its plant in Jeffersonville. Voestalpine operates a plant at the ports of Indiana, and the expansion is expected to cost $78 million and create 100 new jobs. Voestalpine makes roll-formed metal for a variety of industries around the world. The expansion will add a production line for frame rails for several major global customers. The IEDC is giving Voestalpine up to $4 million in tax credits, and Duke Energy is also offering incentives for the project. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Indiana, your bold future starts here. IBJ Media, Inside Indiana Business, and the Indiana Economic Development Corporation invite you to the Engage Indiana series, presented by CareSource, Indiana University, and Old National Bank. With an unrelenting focus on growing Indiana's economy, our Engage Indiana events take place in every region of the state. Discover when we'll be in your area at ibj.com/engage.
The Western Indiana Workforce Development Board has hired a new executive director. Greg Lee began his role earlier this month after serving as the director for Western Indiana Region 7 Work One Services since 2021. The board oversees the regional workforce training provider. Greg Lee is 38 and replaces Lisa Lee, who is retiring. A business cleaning and uniform provider with multiple locations in Indiana is expanding north. Wildman Business Solutions announced last week it acquired Advantage Linen Supply of Ionia, Michigan. Wildman makes uniforms and provides other services for businesses. Those services include cleaning supplies, first aid kits, and safety materials. A representative from Wildman declined to say what the acquisition price was, but the purchase now brings Wildman's headcount to around 430. Wildman says there will be no layoffs with the purchase and that Advantage Linen brand will be rolled into Wildman's. Advantage Linen had been using Wildman's laundry services for its uniforms for the past 13 years, so the two companies had familiarity with one another. Due in part to a $1 billion budget shortfall in the Family and Social Services Administration, more Hoosiers seeking Medicaid are now finding themselves on wait lists. As a way to save money after the shortfall, the FSSA started a wait list for Medicaid waiver services, which have a higher income cutoff than traditional Medicaid. There are 5 separate Medicaid waivers. 4 of them focus on Hoosiers with disabilities, and one called Pathways is meant for Hoosiers over 60. As of July 1st, the Pathways waitlist has over 9,000 people on it. There are another 3,700 on the Health and Wellness waiver, which is meant for those with disabilities. Officials warn that some waitlists already exceed the number of available slots. A spokesperson for the FSSA told the Capitol Chronicle that the state's budget drives the number of slots available for Medicaid coverage. Families have expressed frustration by a lack of information from the FSSA about what position they are on the waitlist and how long it might take to receive assistance. Preservationist and leader of Indiana Landmarks, Marsh Davis, is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast hosted by Gary Dick, presented by PNC. A weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Marek Mazurek for Inside Indiana Business Radio On Demand.